Why do we laugh? It's a surprisingly difficult question to answer. We all know what laughter feels like, but explaining why something is funny is a little like explaining why a song sounds beautiful. There's a formula behind it, but there's also something wonderfully unpredictable. Still, if you watch enough sitcoms, cartoons, stand-up specials, and comedy films, you begin to notice certain patterns. Some jokes have been making audiences laugh for centuries because they rely on timeless techniques rather than specific punchlines. Today, we're looking at 7 of the most common comedic tropes and why they continue to work generation after generation. One of comedy's oldest tricks is simple. Take something ordinary and make it ridiculously extraordinary. Exaggeration turns everyday problems into epic disasters. A person isn't just late for work, they're chased through the city by every imaginable obstacle. Someone isn't mildly annoyed, they're so frustrated they completely lose their mind over a broken coffee maker. Animation thrives on this. Take Wile E. Coyote from Looney Tunes. Every plan to catch the Roadrunner becomes an engineering marvel involving rockets, catapults, giant magnets, or suspiciously unreliable Acme products. The joke isn't that the plan fails. The joke is that the plan is absurdly overcomplicated in the first place. The bigger the exaggeration, the bigger the laugh. Some jokes don't rely on action at all. They rely on words, puns, double meanings, clever insults, misunderstandings. These all take advantage of the flexibility of language. People love to make fun of dad jokes, but the reason they survive generation after generation is because our brains enjoy solving tiny linguistic puzzles. You hear one meaning, then suddenly realize there's another. That tiny moment of realization becomes the punchline. Even Shakespeare filled his plays with puns. Centuries later, people are still groaning and laughing at the same time. Comedy often happens when reality suddenly refuses to cooperate with our expectations. Psychologists call this incongruity. Your brain predicts one outcome and gets something completely different. That's why surprise is so closely tied to humor. Imagine a terrifying villain delivering a dramatic speech, only to trip over absolutely nothing. Or someone confidently explaining how everything is under control, right before complete chaos erupts. One of my favorite examples comes from The Princess Bride. Vizzini repeatedly declares something is inconceivable. Eventually, another character calmly responds, "You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means." The joke works because expectations suddenly collide with reality. Not every joke exists simply to entertain. Sometimes comedy has a target. Satire uses humor to criticize people, institutions, politics, or society itself. Rather than delivering a lecture, it exaggerates flaws until they're impossible to ignore. Shows like The Simpsons have spent decades poking fun at suburban life, education, religion, corporations, and politics. South Park pushes this even further by taking current events to absurd extremes. The laughter isn't just the joke. It's about recognizing a truth hidden inside it. Great satire entertains first and makes you think afterward. Long before dialogue became the focus of comedy, people laughed at movement. Someone slipping on a banana peel, a perfectly timed double take, an elaborate chase scene, a pie to the face. Legends like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, The Three Stooges mastered physical comedy because it crosses cultural and language barriers. You don't need subtitles to understand someone accidentally sitting in wet paint. Modern filmmakers still rely on slapstick because it's immediate. Our brains instantly understand physical mishaps, even when they're wildly unrealistic. Some jokes get funnier every time they return. A callback is a joke that reappears later, rewarding audiences for paying attention. The first appearance establishes the joke, the second reminds you of it, the third becomes hilarious simply because you know it's coming. Shows like Arrested Development became famous for incredibly layered running gags. The more episodes you watched, the more jokes you noticed. It's almost like the audience becomes part of the comedy. Spotting the callback feels like you're in on it. Finally, there's irony. Irony thrives on contradiction. Someone proudly declares, "Nothing can possibly go wrong." Immediately, everything goes wrong. Or someone sarcastically says, "Well, this is going great," while standing in the middle of complete disaster. The humor comes from the gap between expectation and reality. Irony reminds us that life rarely unfolds exactly as we imagine, and sometimes that's hilarious. What's fascinating is that these techniques aren't limited to one style of comedy. You'll find them in classic cartoons, sitcoms, stand-up comedy, animated movies, internet memes, even everyday conversations. The jokes may change, the references may evolve, but the underlying mechanics stay remarkably consistent. Comedy isn't random, it's built, and these tropes are some of the tools comedians have been using for hundreds, sometimes thousands of years. The next time you're watching your favorite comedy, pay attention to what's actually making you laugh. Is it exaggeration, a clever pun, a perfectly timed callback, a piece of biting satire, or maybe a simple moment where expectations completely fall apart? Once you start recognizing these patterns, you'll never watch comedy the same way again. And who knows, you might even find yourself becoming funnier in the process. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. What's your favorite comedy trope? Is there one that always makes you laugh no matter how many times you've seen it? I'd love to hear your answers. Until next time, thanks for watching.